You have to understand the confidence it takes to wake up one morning and decide to add cannibal lore to federal immigration policy. Because it really does feel like Kristi Noem saw all the attention swirling around the Epstein files and thought, okay, but what about me? Because while everyone else was arguing about billionaires and corruption, she shows up with a story about a cannibal who allegedly ate other people and then chewed on his own arms mid-flight. Like, imagine running one of the most powerful agencies in the country and deciding your strongest argument for immigration enforcement is a campfire story.
They said that they had detained a cannibal and put him on a plane to take him home. And while they had him in his seat, he started to eat himself. And they had to get him off and get him medical attention. These are the kind of deranged individuals that are on our streets in America that we're trying to target and get out of our country.
Well, that's Kristi Noem and her Groupon filler face, and that's the best they could do. And I'm going to explain why this is so much more terrifying than it seems. But real quick, I'm Lauren Preacher. It's only a matter of time until these Kristi Noem bootlickers get the boot from their jobs and start a podcast. The pipeline from white nationalism to podcasting is really strong, and we've got to be in a position to hold our ground. So subscribe, like, share, hype, comment, consider every action and FU to MAGA and all these Looney Tunes.
Geraldo Luna Campos died in an immigration detention. DHS claimed he killed himself. Witnesses stated Mr. Campos was strangled by the guards at a detention facility. Instead of investigating this death, your department tried to deport the witnesses to the crime.
A 14-month-old dog is basically a teenager in dog years. You decided to kill that dog because you had not invested the appropriate time in training, and then you have the audacity to go into a book and say it's a leadership lesson about tough choices.
Well, context is critical in each of these situations.
Secretary, not a single one was charged with a crime. And you've had multiple chances to take accountability, to apologize to these folks and others across the country, but you have failed to do it. You need to resign, be fired, or be impeached.
He did. He called himself a cannibal, ate other people, and ate himself that day. Well, they had to take him off of the flight and get him medical attention, and then he went back into the system.
She got caught because reporters asked her for proof, and her own department couldn't produce any. After she repeated that story about a deportee who ate his own arms on a flight, journalists contacted ICE and Department of Homeland Security looking for documentation. Federal law enforcement officers said that there was no record of it. Enforcement and removal operations had nothing. A senior official said the incident never occurred. When someone asked whether the story came from an air marshal, one official said it came from her. So the Secretary of Homeland Security told a graphic story on national television that her own agency cannot verify because she made it up. What makes this worse is how she used it. She was defending detention centers and aggressive enforcement. She described immigrants as deranged and offered this totally made up cannibal story as an example of who ICE is removing. The goal was obvious. If people fear a horror villain, assuming we are all too dumb to notice that it was a completely made up story, the problem is that their own data doesn't support that framing. Reporting has shown that less than 14% of immigrants arrested by ICE during Trump's first year back in office had no violent criminal convictions. Most were detained for immigration violations, just showing up to their appointments, and they're just filling in the gaps with made-up stories. At the same time, ICE has detained U.S. citizens. ProPublica documented at least 170 cases of American citizens arrested by immigration agents during Trump's second term.
Questions of law, not trick questions. Is it lawful for federal agents to shoot and kill a person for engaging in peaceful protest and nothing else? That's a yes or no question.
Each instances in peaceful protest, no, it's not.
Okay, good. Is it lawful for federal agents to shoot and kill a person for filming them on a public street? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. Is it lawful for federal agents to shoot and kill a person just because that person is lawfully carrying a holstered firearm under the Second Amendment in state law?
No.
And finally, yes or no, is it lawful for federal agents to shoot an innocent person or even a criminal suspect just for driving away from them, according to the Supreme Court?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you got the law right, and I hope you would rethink what you said about two good, honest, faithful American citizens and what that means to their families when you say that as Secretary of Homeland Security. And your ICE guy has already retracted that, and you should retract it too. I yield back to you, Mr.
They also have been in situations where people were publicly accused of violent conduct and then later saw charges reduced or dropped. Those updates rarely travel as far as the original accusations. Then there are also conditions inside detention facilities, investigations and lawsuits over the years that have described overcrowding, inadequate medical care, prolonged detention, and serious mental health strain on children. Pediatric researchers have found that immigration detention is associated with higher rates of anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress symptoms. In kids, families talk about living with constant uncertainty, not knowing when they might be transferred or deported. A significant portion of detention beds are operated by private prison corporations that are paid per detainee per day.
Continue on this line of y'all breaking the law. Are you familiar with a child by the name of Liam Ramos?
I am.
All right, so Liam was at this Dilley facility, and it just so happened that we had put in our 7 days notice, and y'all had grabbed him 6 days prior to our visit. So we were able to go and visit Liam. Are you aware of the court order that came down that released Liam from custody?
I am.
And are you aware that the judge said the case has its genesis in an ill-conceived and incompetently implemented government pursuit of daily deportation quotas, apparently even if it requires traumatizing children? This court and others regularly send undocumented people to prison and orders them deported, but do so by proper legal procedures. Are you aware of that?
Yes, and I would disagree with the judge on several
I'm sure you
points
would, but can you tell me whether or not you have a law degree?
Father chose to.
Can you tell me whether or not you have a law degree?
If I have what?
A law degree.
No, I do not have a law
Okay,
degree.
and you do understand, because I can go through a bunch of court cases and orders that I disagree with from the Supreme Court, that ultimately that is the order of the court. That is what you follow, and if you have an issue, you appeal it up, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. The court went on to say, apparent also is the government's ignorance of an American historical document called the Declaration of Independence. 33-year-old Thomas Jefferson enumerated grievances against a would-be authoritarian king over his nascent nation. Among others were, he has sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people. He has excited domestic insurrection among us, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us. He has kept us among, in times of peace, standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. Are you aware that he wrote that? Do you know that he was writing about ICE that falls under you?
The judge?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. With that, I will yield, but I do have 2 UCs.
That structure means that the system generates revenue based on how many people are held and for how long. Those contracts continue regardless of how the public conversation is framed. When Noem chose to repeat a fictional horror story, she shifted attention away from those real realities. Kristi Noem invented a cannibal story while Trump was literally best friends with Jeffrey Epstein, while we have confirmed files about what happened on that creepy island. While we know Epstein's last girlfriend was put through dental school at Columbia on his dime, and there are allegations in those documents of torture and cannibalism, all of that is sitting in there, declassified, waiting to be read, and nobody is talking about it or showing it to us. But Noem makes up one fictional immigrant horror story, and suddenly that's the conversation we're having. Release the files. This is what I am asking for. Release them and tell me what's actually happening on that island and what went down. Tell me what Trump knew and what he didn't know. Then come back and talk to me about cannibalism and monsters and who the real threat in this country is, because the reality is so much scarier than whatever Kristi Noem pulled out of her ass. And you don't need to invent horror stories. The actual documented ones are worse. And while you are releasing those files, release the damn kids. Release them for detention, every single one of them. Stop putting 6-year-olds in cages while you argue about policy. Stop letting children disappear in a system with no legal accountability. You absolute fucking monsters. We covered Epstein's girlfriend. We covered what was on that island. We have the receipts. The files exist. Release them all. Release the children. That is not a difficult ask. And if this story has expanded your perspective, share it with a friend, post it on your Facebook, leave us a comment. We cannot grow without your support.